So what we're going to do today is talk about 5 things you can take home to your newsroom and try. So these are going to be engagement ideas, contesting ideas, all kinds of things that you could kind of jot down and give a shot. Lots of examples from real stations, many of which television newsrooms, but we work with a lot of radio newsrooms as well. And in most cases, it translates perfectly. So. Number 1, get organized. So this is kind of like step 1 in just about any project. And so what I would encourage you to do is go back to your newsrooms and make a list. So what you're going to make a list of are, first of all, the list of accounts. And this may surprise you if you actually go back to your newsroom and ask around, hey, what accounts do we have? You ask your on-air talent, do you guys have Twitter accounts? Do you guys have Facebook accounts? And sometimes you'll find that there's these sort of like rogue accounts happening that are sort of speaking on behalf of your brand, but that no one really is quite aware of or quite has control of. So you want to make sure you know exactly what you're dealing with. Next, you want to find out who's controlling these accounts. Make sure you have a list. Who is the admin on these Facebook accounts? Exactly who and how many people are there? Who has the Twitter passwords to all these different accounts? Do managers have the passwords? Do they not have the passwords? We need to make sure we know who has what and who's controlling this thing. From there, you're going to want to think about security and access. So this is part of the process of getting organized so that you just have a complete picture, especially if you're in a management role, of really who's doing what. These social accounts are going to start to become really huge for you in terms of driving traffic to your websites, getting people excited about your broadcast, and so forth. And so these social assets are very important to your station, and you want to make sure that you control access and security around them. So here's a good reason why. This is a Fox News Politics Twitter account. You may have read about this in the trades. So they were basically hacked, and a whole bunch of tweets went out about the president being shot, which, as you all know, was not true. But, really the reason that this happened was because their Twitter password was a little too easy to guess. A few too many people knew it. And so as you're doing this organization process, if you find that your password is something like your call letters password, you're going to want to change that because you're really opening yourself up for this type of thing. And in case you thought that was, just 1 in a million, the same thing has actually happened to NBC News. This was on the 10th anniversary of the 9/11. Obviously, again, fake tweets going out, big credibility problem, and really something that could have easily been prevented if you're very careful about access and security, and you're not just letting these things, kind of run like the wild, wild west in your newsrooms. So, how are we going to do it? First of all, you need to make sure you have a plan for what happens when someone is fired or quits. A very clear plan. Maybe HR is even involved in this. Maybe it's part of the checklist of getting the key back or whatever happens. But you want to make sure you don't run into a situation where someone has left the newsroom and months later you discover, oh, they still know the password. Oh, they're still an admin. Oh, they posted something crazy on my page. No, we do not want to have that happen. And so if this is not part of your, checklist when someone leaves or is fired, and I'm talking within like 30 minutes of that happening, then it needs to be. Next, how often are passwords and administrators updated? And we find that oftentimes never is the answer. Like, I don't know when the last time that was. And so maybe the password's, 2 years old, and Lord knows how many, people have come and gone in your newsroom in that time. And so you want to make sure that there's also some sort of a plan in place from that. Someone who owns this as a project, and someone who's going to take responsibility for updating these passwords and kind of going through and removing admins who need to be, and so forth. So next, accountability. We want to make sure that once we've given folks access to our accounts, we know what they're doing. And if they're doing good, we can say good job and we can learn from that. And if they're doing bad, well, you can deal with that too. So social media accountability is, I think, something that's challenging for a lot of managers because it is so, it's such a vast, amount of content to keep up with being posted. And so many people have all their different accounts and so forth. So here's an example of why you want to make sure that you're doing this. So, I'll read it for you. I'm downtown eating, surrounded by Mormons and repressed sexual energy. Now, if that's not funny enough, you should know that this is a Salt Lake City television station. So, double bad. And basically what happened here is they had a producer at the station who had his own Twitter account, and he also knew the password to the television station's main Twitter account. He had both of them in his mobile phone in like a TweetDeck or one of those kind of apps, and he literally just hit the wrong button and sent it out to the wrong place. So, this is why we want to make sure we're drawing a very clear divide between personal and professional access to social media accounts. So as if that's not bad enough, it actually took them several days to even figure out how in the world this happened. Like, did we get hacked? Like, oh my God, like someone's posting craziness to our page. Well, no, you posted your own craziness because it's producer, but the problem was that so many people had the password, a dozen, 15, however many. It could have been anybody who posted this, and there was no real way to immediately track it down. And so again, you want to make sure you have a very short list of who is this, what's happening, And again, this is actually something that happens more often than you might think. This was just a couple weeks ago at this television station. I love the love at the gay bars. I have 5 new BFFs in 15 minutes. Do you, News Channel 9? Fantastic. Well, that's bad. So we want to make sure that this doesn't happen. This is the same exact scenario. Producer had the password to, her station's account. She had her personal account. Oops, wrong button, right? It's really easy to do on the mobile. So we want to make sure that we have a very clear line. Folks aren't accessing personal and professional in the same platform. That there's a very, very clear divide. So a couple of tips on this. First of all, keeping track of who posts what. Now, this is a little easier said than done. You actually do have to use some sort of a third-party platform tool in order to do this. SocialNewsDesk is one of them. But basically what you need to do is in order to be able to track down to that level, that's not something Facebook or Twitter will allow you to do in their native platform, so you really need a tool for that. The next thing is be wary of tools that blend the personal and professional accounts. So it's all these free tools that everyone's using in your newsroom, your TweetDeck and your Hootsuite and all these things. What they're probably doing is, checking out what their friends are tweeting about too, and as a result, mistakes can happen. So you might have heard about Facebook's new administrative tools, right? So Facebook just made an update a couple of weeks ago that introduced admin roles for your Facebook page. So everyone kind of rejoiced in this. Yay, now we have a little more control. And I think, yes, you do have a little more control, but there's a few things that you can fix with this new administrative role feature, and there's a few things you can't. So first of all, these are the roles. The ones that you really care about are manager, which is the same as what the old admin used to be. It's just the big main admin. And then content creator, which is sort of like one below that. And the only thing the content creator cannot do that the manager can is delete the page and remove the other admins. So that's good. That's a step in the right direction, because it used to be that if you had all these admins, one of them could delete the page, one of them could remove you from the page as a manager. These are bad things. So, this is good. This is a step in the right direction. But what this does not solve is you still can't track who posts what. So if you have 12 content creators, you still don't know who posted the crazy thing. Also, they cannot use Facebook as page, which is a term that Facebook uses so that, for example, a reporter who has a reporter fan page could go over and comment as that fan page on a source's profile or whatever, as they're doing source kind of gathering on Facebook. And this is an important activity that a lot of your reporters will use Facebook as a tool to source news and news gather. So that's a problem. You can't add and delete users as in bulk. So if you got a whole bunch of admins, you still have to go page to page to page when someone gets fired. And then obviously, of course, this does not deal with Twitter whatsoever. So I just want to make the point that these updates that Facebook has made certainly are a step in the right direction, but there's still a lot to be wary of and a lot to make sure that you're on top of. So that's number one, get organized. Number two, establish ownership. So this is very important. Who owns these things, right? So I told my reporter, hey, go start a Twitter account. Is that his Twitter account or is that my Twitter account? When he leaves, does he take it with him? Do I get to keep it? So I don't know the answer to that. However, I will tell you about a lawsuit that's going through the court system right now. So phonedog.com is a website that reviews phones. So they fancy themselves to be kind of like an editorial content website. They do reviews, non-biased reviews of phones. Well, they had this guy named Noah Kravitz, who started as a reporter in 2006. His managers, as many managers do, said, hey, Noah, please go start a Twitter account, start tweeting links to our website, start using it to promote ourselves, yeah? So he did that. He set it up. He has the password. He named it @PhoneDogNoah, per the manager's instructions. 4 years later, he had amassed 17,000 followers, which is a lot. He decided, but he was tired of Phone Dog, so he was going to go work for the competition. And he decided to change his Twitter handle, which you can do anytime you feel like it, from @phonedog_Noah to just plain old Noah Kravitz. And he took that whole account with him, and instead of posting about Phone Dog, now he was posting about his new employer, which was a direct competitor to Phone Dog. So he's posting out links. He's now sending traffic to the competitor. Well, Phone Dog was not too happy about this. So they decided to sue him for misappropriation of trade secrets, which they claim are their Twitter followers, as well as damage to their advertising revenue, because what was happening prior to his exit was that they got a whole lot of referral traffic from his Twitter account because he had 17,000 followers. He was a well-known kind of person on the site, and lots of people would click on the links that he tweeted, right? So all that ended, and as a result, clicks to their site, page views on their site went down, and revenue went down. Big problem for Phone Dog. Kravitz tried to have the lawsuit thrown out. Judge said, no, thank you. The lawsuit is moving forward. It's currently in the courts now. Phone Dog is suing for $340,000, which is approximately $2.50 per follower. So I don't know the answer to that. I don't know what's going to happen. But what I will tell you is I think it's better that we not get ourselves into that in the first place. It should be noted that Noah Kravitz is still tweeting @Noah Kravitz if you'd like to follow him, because he who owns the password owns the power. So he continues to tweet there even now. So despite the fact that Phone Dog's pretty pissed off about this, he's still sending plenty of traffic to his new employer. He's been doing so for the last several years. So, the point is get ahead of this and make sure that you have a plan in place. And if at all possible, certainly make sure you have the passwords. So something to consider when you do bring in a new employee, consider starting from scratch. So if they come from their old employer and they have some kind of Twitter or Facebook account that they're coming with, you might consider telling them, that's cool, let's start our own account. Let's start our own branded account. We'll promote that for you and we'll own it. Now, there will be some circumstances when you don't want to do that, and that is if that person is coming to the table with something valuable for you and your brand. So if they come to the table and they already have a ton of fans, a ton of followers, more than you think you could get, then that represents a good marketing opportunity for you. You could actually work with that person and say, okay, great, well, let's work something out here where yes, of course you own this because you came here with it, but since you're my employee, let's work out something to where, you'll promote my brand while you're my employee. We kind of have like a deal going. But it's important in the structure of that deal that A, it's written down, and that B, that they understand what your expectations are, because the only way this is going to work is if you have some editorial control over what goes on there, that they're willing to follow your rules, that they're willing to do whatever it is that's going to help your brand. Because if they're not, then that Twitter account or that Facebook account isn't helping you much, and there's really no point. You may as well have them start over. So, there's kind of a gut check on which way to go with it, but it's something to consider. And if they have no fans and no followers, by all means, just start over, and then you can control the process. So make sure you own the password, and make sure you get it in writing. And even folks who have, if you have existing, talent who have their own Facebook and their own Twitter accounts, and maybe you're not an admin on it right now, or maybe you don't know the Twitter password, go back and start trying to, work out things with these folks. And it may not be that you can just yank ownership from them, but it can be, something that is friendly worked out to where, hey, while you're my employee, I think it would make sense that we have access to this account. We can back you up on it. There's a number of reasons why this is a good idea. And I think make sure that you're having those conversations and being thoughtful about it. Next, best practices. So we're going to whip through 10 best practices real quick. So number 1, no link, no clicks, right? So that's obvious, but we want to make sure that we're getting as much referral traffic from Facebook and Twitter as we can. And so if you're putting posts out that do not have a link, then you're really kind of wasting everyone's time because you're not sending anyone anywhere, and all they're going to do is go and Google that and look it up on someone else's website. So we certainly don't want that. So you want to make sure that, you're encouraging your staff, and there will be times when a text-only post is appropriate, but 9 times out of 10, there's a good way to weave in a link. So make sure you're doing that. Number 2, include a photo. So this is actually research that was done by Facebook on fan pages that have journalistic content, so news organizations and news people. And they found that if you include a photo in your Facebook post, you'll get 150% increase in likes and 65% increase in comments. So if you look at the examples here, you see the one on the top is a post from, both of these are from the same station. One says, search for armed robbery suspect locks school down. Well, that's kind of a big deal. And then the next one says, which movie cast reunion would you like to see? So the bottom one actually gets a ton more engagement than the top. And this Facebook study would conclude that one of the major reasons why is because the bottom one has a picture associated with that thumbnail and the top one doesn't. So just as you're kind of scanning through your Facebook feed, it's the same reason why, we put pictures on TV, because those things draw attention to whatever content it is you're trying to convey. And so you just want to make sure that you're thoughtful about trying to get pictures in there as much as possible. Next, ask questions. So this seems easy, but you'll actually get a 120% increase in comments if you ask a question. Ask and they will answer. So that is easy. However, just make sure that you're asking a question with a purpose. So this is the anti-example. Do you use a Q-tip after you shower to clear your ear? Anyone? Yes? Well, Wanda says, I use a Q-tip after I shower to clean my ear. Does this mean I will get cancer or something? Please don't leave us hanging like that, right? So, use questions, but questions in relationship to your content, not just questions for the sake of questions, and certainly not to make people think Q-tips cause cancer. That's bad. Number 4, sports posts. Don't leave the sports department out, okay? Because sports posts actually get 25% more likes and comments, and important sports wins will get 2 times the engagement according to Facebook. So, people are passionate about their sports. Let them talk about it. Make sure the sports guys aren't just tuned out on Facebook and Twitter. We want to make sure they have accounts, they're posting on your page, they're engaged in the conversation of what are we putting on, Facebook, what are we putting on Twitter, and they have something that's really valuable from a content perspective to add to this. And so having worked in newsrooms as long as I did, I know that those guys often try to hide in the corner, and so you want to bring them out and make sure that they're participating in this. Number 5, passionate, provocative debates get 2 to 3 times more engagement. So this is kind of obvious, but it's just worth mentioning that you want to be thoughtful about what content you're putting out. Put out things that people want to talk about. Number 6, think about what you tweet. So here's a couple of studies by Dan Zarella, who works at HubSpot, really smart guy. danzarella.com is his blog. He has all kinds of cool stuff there if you want to check that out. But one of the studies he found was that tweets which contain links get retweeted way more than tweets that don't. And the reason is that Twitter's really about sharing information. People want to be the first to read an article and share it with you, right? So they're only going to retweet things that they think everyone else is going to be appreciative of, like they've passed along this great knowledge. And so if you're including links in your tweets, you're more likely to get retweeted, which sort of starts the whole viral spread. That's exactly what we want. So be very mindful of tweeting and including links in those. Next, ask for what you want. So just like if you ask a question on Facebook, people will answer it. If you actually ask for a retweet on Twitter, hey, people will do it. So make sure you're doing that too. And then tweet the news. So this should be easy for all of you, but basically this particular study showed that when the general Twitter population was asked what type of content do you most likely retweet, and they said news. Hey, so that's really good news for us. So just make sure you're being on Twitter you can be a little more hard news, I think, than what you can do on Facebook, and so keep that in mind too. Number 7, this is really just about thinking about Twitter as a news gathering tool, thinking about what can I source using Twitter, who can I search for, what can I find out by using Twitter hashtags and doing Twitter search terms, and you'll find that everybody is kind of using Twitter as a way to get news first, and so this is an example of that. Or not. Technology fail. If any of you would like to buy Tide, though. There we go. So news travels fast on Facebook. We kind of all know that, but we want to make sure that it's our news that's traveling fast. So you want to make sure that you're looped in on what are the hashtags, what hashtags am I using, create hashtags if they need to be created, and use the Twitter search features. Look for people who are tweeting about stories that you're interested in. Look for organizations that are tweeting about stories you're interested in. You can geolocate this. I could do a whole entire hour on this, but point being, experiment with these things and make sure you're using Twitter as a news gathering mechanism, as well as a news distribution mechanism. Number 8, think about when you tweet, not just what you tweet. So first of all, this is again a study by Dan Zarella. So this is percentage of retweets. So 5 p.m., he says, is when the most retweets happen. People are kind of heading out of work, so they check out a few things and they retweet a few things. So that would be a great time to send out tweets. Average click-through rate per hour. So according to this study and many others, approximately 1 to 4 tweets per hour is going to get you the most click-throughs. So this is a lot, probably more than what you're doing right now on a day-to-day basis, but it just goes to show that, on Twitter, the average Twitter user is willing to consume a much higher level of content. So you can kind of pump out a lot more stuff there and as a result see an increase in your click-throughs. Click-throughs tend to be highest midweek and weekends, and I think the important thing to remember there is if your social strategy kind of falls by the wayside on the weekends, you need to pick it back up because a lot's happening in social media on the weekends, and so we want to make sure that there's a strategy in place to help the weekend crew to continue 7 days a week. And then noon and 6 p.m. are when click-throughs are highest. So again, this, it makes a lot of sense if you just think about, people's daily life cycle. So at noon, lunch hour, they're kind of clicking through some stuff, checking it out, and same, right about ready to leave work. So these are time periods during the day where if you have something really important you want to get out, it's good to think about kind of middle of the day, end of the day. Number 9, Facebook. There's also lots of studies about when and how often to post to Facebook. Facebook themselves did their own study, and they said that if you post 5 to 10 times per day, and this is journalists, this is news content specifically, you'll get 45% increase in likes and 100% increase in comments, so that's good. However, if you do 11 to 15 times per day, you'll get a 60% bump in referral traffic, which is maybe better. So that's generally where I often tell our clients to start, somewhere in that neighborhood, and it's something that you'll want to kind of watch over time and maybe change depending on how your community is responding. This is another study not done by Facebook, done by HubSpot and Dan Zarella, but kind of confirming the same thing. And again, that Saturday is a big day for Facebook. Shares on Saturday are up, and shares at noon are up. So again, make sure that weekend crew has a plan. And number 10 is really just about responding. So, this is a good example of a station, putting out some information about the weather. Somebody says, hey, is Prairie County going to get any rain? We need some rain. The television station responds back and says, well, I don't think there's going to be any rain, at least not today. And she says, thanks. And so just this simple act of actually reading what people are writing, answering them, they say thank you. So now they feel like they're connected to you, they're part of a community. This is not just like the television or the radio, which is kind of all one way. This is really about a community and a two-way street. And so make sure that it's that. Make sure you're not just pumping out content and never going back and looking at what's happening after that. Next, we're going to talk about cross-promotion. So what is this going to do for me? Why am I spending all this time helping Mark Zuckerberg out? So this is why. First of all, we want to take those fans and followers and we want to turn them into viewers or listeners, right? So there's a few different ways that you can do that. Number 1 is just, basic engagement principles. So get your talent on there, have them do something cool. This is a cool example of a station that does 5 questions with Roxanne. And they literally, get questions off of Facebook and she tapes herself answering the questions and and they show it. And so it's just a way to kind of get the Facebook community excited about her as a personality and connected to her as part of your brand, and as a result more engaged in watching your news and watching her. Next, provide unique content and point it back to your broadcast. So for example, this is a shot of an anchor interviewing this person from a TV show, and it was a behind-the-scenes shot. And so basically the point of this was like, hey, look who's in the studio. We're interviewing her after the break, come watch us and check it out. So the point is showing unique content, not just slapping up like a promo or slapping up something that's on the broadcast, but really giving them something different, but pointing back to why is this happening and why should you tune in to learn or hear more. Same thing with this. This is like a behind-the-scenes tour of the newsroom. People get excited about these kinds of things. They want to comment about it. Maybe you got a new piece of equipment. Maybe somebody got a new camera. Hey, look at this cool thing. We're going to use it tonight on the news, that kind of stuff. And then, teasing ahead with interviews that are done, really exciting interviews. So this was an example of a reporter who was interviewing this American Idol finalist, and she did this big interview with him, and she just posted a quick snapshot, in the middle of it and said, I just interviewed him, I'm working on the story right now, and it's going to be on tonight at 5, watch and hear what he said, that kind of stuff. But again, not just posting up, a link to your story after it's done, but really kind of bringing in your audience in the process of the news gathering will go miles on social media. And then responding to them. So if you ask them for story ideas, if you ask them, hey, what should we work on? Actually pick some of those ideas and go out and do them, and recognize that your Facebook or your Twitter community participated in your editorial process and deciding what stories you were going to cover and what's important in the news that day. And so as a result, people will feel connected with the broadcast. They'll want to see what you did all day as if, they were somehow involved in the process. And so you'll get more people to tune in just because they feel like they were part of the process of bringing this broadcast together. And then, build community, especially around big stories. So this is a story I'm sure you're all familiar with, the Waldo Canyon Ranch fire in Colorado Springs. So this is KKTV, who's been doing an amazing job. They just finished 130 hours of wall-to-wall coverage this morning. So they've been kind of really burning the candle at both ends, and one of the things they've done really, really well is build a social community around this story. And so they put out a hashtag, which was not their hashtag, this just happened to be the hashtag that everyone adopted, which was Waldo Canyon Fire. And so throughout all 130 hours, and I'm sure they're still doing it now, they were constantly promoting this hashtag and having a conversation on Twitter using the hashtag. So every time they posted something, which was practically every minute, about the fire, they're using this hashtag. So everybody at home on their phones can keep track of it, and it all kind of ties into the broadcast. Also, this is something kind of clever that they did, and this is to create a profile picture that they shared on their Facebook page. And it says, this person supports Colorado wildfire relief efforts, the station's information, and a link to the page on the station's website where all the wildfire kind of information was gathered into one place. And so, on the one hand, they're certainly providing a service because they're putting together this list of help links and all that stuff. But on the other hand, they're really creating a way to get the community kind of really in touch with their brand. Everybody, if you go to their page, there's lots of people who have this as their profile picture now. And it was because the station thought to create this, to send it out, to give people something to gather around and rally around, people who's, aren't directly affected but live in the area and just want to do something. This gives them a good way to involve the community and to start something themselves. They did the same thing with a share picture, so rather than asking people to make it their profile picture, they just said, share this. And as you can see, it's cleverly designed so that when you share it, it points up to your profile picture and says, I support the efforts. This is an interesting study, if you haven't seen it, by TV Guide earlier this year that said 71% of people have seen a social impression about a TV show. And of those, 17% actually stopped and started to watch that show because they saw something on Facebook or Twitter that said, hey, this is cool, go watch that. And 31% continued to watch a show because of a social impression. So we're seeing more and more that direct link between what's happening on Facebook and Twitter and why people are going to go and watch or listen to your broadcast. And that's a very important point. So next, we also want to return the favor. We want to get our viewers, over to the social channels. We want to make them into fans, make them into followers. And so you can do that a few different ways. Number one, as I mentioned before, making sure you're, letting people know where are your Facebook accounts, where are your Twitter accounts, and doing so often. Putting out hashtags, if you have hashtags for major stories, making sure that you're letting people know that on the broadcast. Don't just randomly start a hashtag on Twitter and think people are going to know about it. Make sure you're tying that in with your complete story coverage. And set a goal for this. So this should be something where as managers we're sitting down and saying, okay, I really want to try to mention the hashtag however many times. I want to do so in this way. Being very, very thoughtful about how you're going to incorporate the hashtag, how often you're going to incorporate it, how often you're going to tell people what the Twitter handles are of your anchors and reporters, or how often you're going to promote your own station's page. Whatever the case may be, there needs to be a promotion strategy around using the broadcast to promote social, and it needs to be something that's fairly well defined so that it just doesn't, fall off the radar and no one ever does it. And then make it easy. Make sure that there's links on your website, for every single anchor and reporter so that people can easily find where the Twitter pages are. If it, go to your website or have a friend or somebody who doesn't know anything about what you do, go to your website and see if they can figure out how to get to Facebook or Twitter. And if it takes them longer than 2 seconds, then you need to fix something because they need to be able to get to your website, get to your social page pretty fast. So, of course, the thing we really want to do is make this whole thing work together. So once we've sent the fans, to become viewers and the viewers to become fans, then everything starts to work together, and now we have a nice, really happy picture of promotion going on. So there's a few different ideas for this. This is a video that I'm going to show you from Fox 8 in Cleveland. This was a campaign they did to increase their Facebook followers, and you'll get a pretty good idea of how it worked.
Get everyone you know to Friend Fox 8 on Facebook. Now, if we reach 100,000 fans by this Sunday at midnight, Fox 8 will donate $2,500 to the Cleveland APL Second Chance Fund. The Second Chance Fund helps the APL give life-saving care to sick and injured animals. Everyone needs to hurry. Now, Fox 8 needs 100,000 Facebook friends by this Sunday at midnight. Time is running out. Please help my friends.
Oh, yeah. So it's funny, I was on a panel with the news director for the station, and somebody said, I don't know, you implied that you were going to kill the dogs. And she was like, yeah, we did. So I don't know, that's what they did, but it worked, So, so they have 334,000 fans now in Cleveland, so that's a lot. That's the most of any local station on Facebook around the country. So whether or not you agree with this approach, that's your own business, but the point is that you can do a lot of creative things. Now this, she explained that Dick Goddard, who's obviously a well-known talent in the area, his kind of pet project had always been this animal shelter. So it kind of stood to reason that he was, championing this animal shelter, and it all kind of worked together. But point is, you don't always have to do contests. You can do a lot of creative things to get people excited about becoming a fan of your page. And the reason that this really worked for them is because it wasn't just, hey, like our page and we'll give some money out. They did packages on the newscast and the morning show, like going to the animal shelter and showing how they were out of supplies and, oh, it's horrible, and, all this stuff. And it was a several week-long, campaign, and they did all kinds of things on the air. They did all kinds of things on the web. It was an approach across many, many platforms. It wasn't just a Facebook approach. And so it's about really getting serious, and it's about making social media a priority and deciding how much of a priority you want to make it and how much of your broadcast muscle you want to throw behind getting fans. Now, if you ask them, they'll say it was definitely all worth it because Facebook is now a huge revenue stream for the station. People come out of the woodwork to try to get something happening on the Facebook page that they pay for. The station will post a link to your site, and they'll charge you for it. The station will do a contest, and they'll charge you for it. And so they get all kinds of advertising revenue now because they've created this Facebook page, which is an extremely valuable asset for local advertisers to connect with the community. So that was their motivation, and that's certainly something that you can achieve if you put a priority there. Here's a couple of examples of other types of apps. So this is a Watch to Win app. This is actually one of our clients, K2 News in Portland. So the way that this worked is it was a Watch to Win contest, but they tied it in with Facebook. So it was, again, about doing something on the broadcast and something on social, and that's the magic of it. So Great Hawaiian Getaway. So basically, the first step was there's a little icon on the Facebook timeline. You click it. It says step 1, click to like. This is very important. Make sure that anytime you're on a contest, someone has to click like to get to it. That's how you get the fans in the first place. So the user would click like. The graphic next said click here to enter. Then it would say, what is the code word for today? So every single day during the May book, they gave out a different code word on the morning show. And then you could enter the contest once a day. So they give out, all these different code words every single day, and they ask people to return to watch the show every day to get the new code word so they could get one more entry and so forth. So once I entered my code word, then I would, be asked some personal information about myself. I could share this with my friends, which is one of the beauties of why we would do this on Facebook versus just having it be a call in and win or having it be on your website or any other way you've done a watch to win. This is great because your viewers share this with their friends. And now their friend who's never watched your show before wants to go to Hawaii, so they're going to watch every single day in May so they can get this code word. At the end of the day, they had over 32,000 fans, which was a 30% increase for them in Facebook fans. They did this, as I said, for 17 days in May. They got over 45,000 entries. The app was viewed almost 75,000 times, which led to a 1,500% increase in timeline views, which is very important because you want to make that timeline a destination, and no one's ever going to go there to click the like button unless there's something there for them. And so putting contests in apps like this on your fan page is what's going to get people to go to it. And they had a sponsorship worth over $6,000. You probably saw the graphics. Some hotel, Sheraton Hotel in Maui, and Alaska Airlines, and I think a car company. So really great sponsorship story for them as well. Here's another contest. It's more like a straight contest. So KATV did this to give away a lawnmower. So first you have to click like because you want to win the lawnmower. You give some information about yourself because you want to win. All these, graphics promoting what you're going to win and so forth. People then share that with their friends. Hey, I'm going to win a lawnmower. Yay, you've been entered. The Father Mows Best contest. And you see all the graphics there for the sponsor. So then what they did is they also did something on TV. So they brought Mr. Tedder onto the show and they interviewed him about his mower. Then they gave a little information out about him. Then they did a lawnmower race with the anchors, which was really quite thrilling. And that guy won. Yay. It was great. It was like really good TV. So, yes, you're bringing a sponsor onto your show, but, it's done in a very cool, very interesting way. People thought it was very funny to see the anchors race and whatever. And this guy thought it was great, Mr. Tedder, because he actually devoted his entire spring buy to this television station because they were able to offer him something that wasn't just, here, have some TV ads, see you later. It was, let's do a multi-platform approach. Let's give something away on our Facebook page that has a lot of fans. That's going to spread virally. We're going to do this cool contest. We're going to race mowers. It's like this whole thing that got him so excited that he didn't spend $1 with anybody else in the entire spring, right? So that's what we want to achieve too. So just a real quick contesting 101 in case you do decide to run a contest because these things are tricky, especially on Facebook. So do not auto-register people who like your page, okay? Do not do something where it says like, hey, if you like our page, you're automatically entered to win. Or, hey, if you comment on this picture, then you might win something. No. Facebook does not want their platform to be like the contesting platform. It has to exist on an app outside of just any old thing that you would normally do on Facebook. So you absolutely can't automatically enter people just for liking your page. You can't just say, hey, once we get to 100,000 people, 100,000 fans, we'll pick one of you and you'll win an iPad. No. Next. Do not notify winners only by posting a message on Facebook. And this is, more or less the same thought process by Facebook, is they don't want to basically be held responsible for anything that does or does not happen. So once you do have a contest, don't just go on Facebook and post the names of the winners and say that's it. You have to make sure you have a phone number or an email address or an address or some other way of contacting those people and telling them they won, other than just posting their name on Facebook and hoping they call you. Do use a third-party app. So as I said, you can't just tell people to like your page and automatically you're going to win, so you have to use an app for this. There's plenty of app companies. We are one of them, so make sure you're using an app. Display Facebook's legal disclaimers. If you are using a professional app company, then more times than not, hopefully they will handle this for you. But there's all kinds of legal disclaimer language that Facebook wants to have in any contest you run, so make sure that exists. Always, always, always fan gate. Don't use a contest where it says, gee, would you please like our page? No. You have to require the person to like the page, and that's called fan gating or like gating now. It's an actual technical mechanism that literally will not let them enter unless they click that like button. And then have a powerful payoff. Don't give away a pencil and expect to get 50,000 fans, okay? You want to get your sponsors involved with this, get something really cool to give away, or at least give something, small away every single day. Generally, TV stations and radio stations, you guys have, tickets to God knows what every single day. So if you want to start giving those away on Facebook, that's not a bad idea. Give a different pair of tickets or whatever garbage you have laying around every single day on Facebook. And that'll add up over time, which is a great way to eventually, get more fans. You just kind of transition all those like little rinky-dink contests onto Facebook, because at least you can get something out of it. You can get fans out of it versus what you're doing right now, which is kind of just giving away some stuff. And you can still, announce the winners on your morning shows or whatever you want to do, but just having the actual act of entering happen on Facebook will help you build fans over time. Oops, Social News Desk. Okay, and then the last thing we're going to talk about is just keeping it simple. So Facebook and Twitter is mostly what I've talked about up to this point because that's where you're going to get the most benefit. This is where the most referral traffic comes from. This is where the most engagement is happening. This is where the most people are. How many of you guys have a Pinterest account at your station? How many Google Plus? Poor Google Plus. All right, so that's why. Facebook? Yeah, Twitter? Yeah, so there you go. But we're going to talk about these other guys anyway. So Pinterest, number one. In case you don't know what Pinterest is basically a bunch of boards, right? You take pictures, you pin them onto these different boards that are categorized based on some kind of topic, and you can like them, you can share them, you can click them and see where the picture came from. That's more or less the general idea. And they're organized, of course, by, your station would have a Pinterest account, or I have a Pinterest account, has lots of baby stuff on it. I have a toddler. It's very boring. So who is on Pinterest? Well, mostly women. It's 80% female at this point. The age is pretty good, though. 25 to 54 is more or less the sweet spot for Pinterest women. So how do you get started with Pinterest? Basically, you just start, create an account, create some boards, start pinning some stuff to it, start commenting on other people's things. If you have somebody in the newsroom who's kind of your tech person, let them kind of play with this, see if it does anything for the station, track to see how many traffic referral you're getting to your website, see if it catches on. Recipes is something that a lot of stations are doing right now. If you have anything that you cook on the morning show, put the recipe up on Pinterest, put a picture of it up on Pinterest. Send people there to check it out because it's more likely to get shared on Pinterest than it is even on Facebook. I mean, put it both places, but people share recipes a lot. Artists we love, this is something a radio station did, just a great way to kind of, put out something on Pinterest that your listeners are interested in. Just kind of sites around town, things that are cool in your city. This is a morning show, so they have multiple different boards, and it's, a lot of recipes really more than anything. Kids and baby boards, that's great. Let people upload their pictures of their kids and so forth and pin other pictures. Weather's okay. News. So news can certainly be a board. You just want to make sure that the news that you're pinning is something interesting and shareable. This is really a very visual platform. This is about a cool picture more than it is about, or a movie more than it is about anything else. And so you want to make sure that if you are going to put a straight news story on there, hopefully there's a really good picture associated with it. And along those lines, just be playful and fun. That's more what this is about than anything else, is just, your goal is to get people to repin it or add it to their board. That's why recipes work so good, because, I have my own recipe board, so I go to your page and I see what you cooked this morning, so now it's on my board. So things that people would want to ingest and put on their own boards and reshare is, usually what works the best. So to participate, just make sure you're out there repinning other people's stuff, liking other people's stuff, commenting on other people's stuff, so that you can start to become a part of the Pinterest community in your area, and that way people will start to respond to your content as well. Google Plus. So what is Google Plus? Google Plus is similar to the Facebook in the sense that you have a brand page, you have a personal page. People can like your page. They call it circle. But, more or less it's the same, kind of concept. Who is on Google Plus? Mostly men. It's kind of the opposite, more or less, of Pinterest. So 63% male. Probably a lot of really tech folks right now, more than anybody. So there's a few things that are cool about Google Plus that is kind of different than Facebook. Number one, they have a trending on Google. So that's kind of like what they have on Twitter, but they do it on Google. You can kind of see, what's hot and whatever. You can also keep track of, who has +1'd or shared your content, and you can actually see the faces and names of those people and kind of see who your top engagement community really is. Hangouts is probably the thing that would be the most cool and innovative for you all to at least try at this point. A lot of television shows, especially network programming, have tried this. Gale does one. This is a radio station that did one to do like a live performance type of hangout. KOMU is a television station that does these every single night. They do a hangout literally during their news, like the newscaster's on the air and the hangout people are right here. So this is really cool. You should participate in this just to see what she's doing sometime. So that's a hangout. So this is a couple quotes from Sarah Hill at KOMU. No longer do we have to just butt together sound bites. We have people in the same place to discuss issues as a group. Viewers don't just want a news anchor sitting behind a desk shouting headlines. Viewers want to be a part of the conversation. So you allow them to do that through hangouts. It's something to try. So why go to Google Plus if no one else is there? Well, the answer is search plus social. So Google is kind of obviously the big daddy in search, right? So they're attempting to loop in social content with the search content. And this is why you want to pay attention to this. Even though it may seem that engagement's pretty low right there, nobody's, really kind of talking back to you. I actually, just the other day, was looking at a post that a television station made. They duplicated the post. They put the exact same thing on Facebook and the exact same thing on Google+, and within 30 minutes they had something like 20 comments and 10 likes or something on Facebook, and like, whoop, goes down on G+. So, I recognize that that's happening, and so you kind of feel like, why do I put my effort there? But the reason is because, we really can't ignore Google in terms of search. Search is important to us. We want to make sure people are making their way to our articles, making their way to our website, so that our website and digital properties remain valuable. So here's an example. So if I search Oscar 2012 in Google and I'm not logged in to Google+, I get kind of like organic, search results like everybody else. But if I'm logged into my G+ account, I start to get customized results based on my Google+ account. Who my friends are, who they like, what they've shared, what they've +1'd, who I have circled. So if I have, ABC News in my circle and I have Entertainment Weekly in my circle and they've shared stories, those are more likely to show up to me. So Google's really going to manipulate the search results based on what it thinks I want to see because of my social profile on G+. And so as more and more people adopt G+, and whether they do or not, maybe they just have a Gmail account sitting in the, wherever, that they just kind of are automatically tied into G+, you're going to see the search results start to be impacted by this. And so as a result, we just want to make sure that you have a page, you're posting some stuff, you're paying attention to this, so that this whole thing doesn't pass you by and you wake up one day and your search results stink. So. Okay, that was it. Do you have any questions? Well, then I did an excellent job, I'll say. Thank you.